The Galaxy Note 10 Lite is the most affordable version of the Galaxy Note 10. It features the same S Pen that debuted with the Galaxy Note 9. The Galaxy Note 10 Lite doesn't have a flagship grade AMOLED display, but still it's pretty good. The screen has the usual AMOLED strengths, wide viewing angles, deep blacks and vivid colors. The Galaxy Note 10 Lite's front side is covered with a 6.7-inch Infinity O display with a punch hole in the center and tiny bezels. Since it isn't a flagship phone, the Note 10 Lite's bezels are slightly bigger at the top and bottom than the bezels on the Note 10 Plus. It may not look as pretty as the Galaxy S10 Lite, but the Note 10 Lite does have something much more useful to make up for it, a headphone jack. Now let's talk about the S Pen. Samsung's stylus has remained unmatched by the competition in the 9 years since it was introduced with the first Galaxy Note. The S Pen has been an excellent tool for taking notes and unleashing your artistic side, and the Note 10 Lite brings you the exact same stylus experience as the Galaxy Note 10 at a more affordable price. The Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Lite is powered by the Exynos 9810 chipset, not the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset like the Galaxy S10 Lite. This smartphone is available in two variants. The base variant has 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, and 8GB of RAM and the same 128GB of storage. The camera module on the Galaxy Note 10 Lite is made of three 12-megapixel cameras. The primary one has an 1.7 aperture as well as an optical image stabilization. The wide-angle camera has an 2.2 aperture and the telephoto camera has an 2.4 aperture. At the front, there is a 32-megapixel shooter with a 2.2 aperture. The camera app will be familiar to Samsung users, and there are multiple shooting modes including food, night, super slow-mo and a pro mode. Photos taken in the day had good details. The wide-angle camera delivers the same color tone as the primary camera, which is a good thing. However, you will notice distortion at the edges of the wide-angle photos. These shots were also low on details. Video recording maxes out at 4K 60fps for the primary camera and 4K 30fps for the selfie shooter. The output is stabilized when shooting at 4K as well as 1080p, and you do have the option to switch between the three rear cameras while shooting. The Galaxy Note 10 Lite does a good job at stabilizing video. This device is powered by a 4500 mAh battery with 25W fast charging support. If the Samsung Galaxy S10 was a bit pricey for you, the phone maker has an alternative, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Lite. The S10 Lite is an interesting device because it brings up top-tier hardware and usable cameras at a much more affordable price point. The S10 Lite feels every bit as premium as any flagship released over the last 2 years. The back curves gently and the weight distribution is perfect. The plastic design allowed Samsung to bring down the weight. There is no 3.5mm headphone jack on the S10 Lite. With a Snapdragon 855 and 8GB of RAM under the hood, it shouldn't come as a surprise that the Galaxy S10 Lite performs like a flagship phone. Your apps and games will load quickly. Games like PUBG run without a hitch, and there's no stutter or lag. The 6.7-inch AMOLED screen is crisp and large for an S-series phone, although it's only Full HD+ resolution. This phone comes with a triple rear camera setup. It has a 48-megapixel lens backed up by 12-megapixel wide-angle shooter and a 5-megapixel macro lens, and you get a 32-megapixel camera at the front. There's also Auto HDR and lots of beautifying effects and filters, and Samsung Scene Optimizer is included here as well. You also get live focus for both photos and videos, and there's a toggle that easily lets you switch between the primary and wide-angle lenses. The S10 Lite takes photos with vibrant and saturated colors, and there's decent dynamic range. You get the same quality shots from the wide-angle lens as well, and that's particularly true of images taken in low light conditions. With a 4500 mAh battery, it's no surprise that the Galaxy S10 Lite can last really long on a single charge. Unless you game and watch YouTube all day, the S10 Lite will comfortably last you until the end of the day and into the next morning. It comes with 45W fast charging. The Galaxy S10 Lite doesn't support wireless charging. The Galaxy S71 5G brings an excellent amount of upgrades over its predecessor. This device is a pleasure to hold and use. The display is a 6.7-inch AMOLED panel. The display is beautiful as well. All the AMOLED awesomeness is present, such as vivid colors with the option to switch to a more natural look, deep blacks, wide viewing angles and excellent brightness levels. Thanks to the Infinity O screen, the bezels have been reduced and the punch hole for the front camera looks better than the U-shaped camera cutout we saw on the Galaxy S70's display. The S71 5G is sleek and light. There's plastic on the back, but the phone feels premium while not being slippery as a phone with a glass back. The in-display optical fingerprint sensor has been improved as well. It's much quicker and more accurate than last year, even more so than theoretically superior ultrasonic in-display sensor on Samsung's flagships. Naturally, facial recognition is supported and it works well most of the time. It is powered by Exynos 980 chipset coupled with 6 or 8 GB of RAM depending on the variant you buy. Performance in day-to-day use is excellent, there's barely any stutter or lag, and all of the graphically intensive gaming titles run well. This phone have quad rear camera setup. The Galaxy S71 5G 64 megapixel primary camera takes 16 megapixel photos using pixel binning, and when the lighting is right you get really beautiful pictures. There's a lot of detail in daylight shots and good dynamic range. Color reproduction is also faithful to real life in most cases. Nighttime shots come out noisy or grainy, although the dedicated night mode tends to focus on increasing the detail in dark objects rather than controlling noise levels. The 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera takes better photos than the A70 was capable of, at least in terms of the detail captured. The A71 also has a 5 megapixel macro camera, which is a great addition to this setup, and the last one is 5 megapixel depth sensor. You can record 4K video at 30 fps and 1080p super slow-mo video at 960 fps. On the front there is a single 32 megapixel camera for selfies, which delivers great picture quality. It is powered by a 4500 mAh battery with 25 watt fast charging support. It has impressive battery life and can get you up to 2 days on a single charge with light usage on Wi-Fi and a little mobile data, and a full day if you are a heavy user who tends to play games, watch YouTube videos and do other power intensive things on their phone. If you travel a lot, the A71 has excellent endurance even when used as a hotspot. The Samsung Galaxy A80 has a premium glass design with a metal frame running around its circumference, which feels good in the hand. The phone comes with a 6.70-inch touchscreen display with a resolution of 1080 by 2400 pixels. With a full HD+ resolution and Super AMOLED panel, the display on the Galaxy A80 is bright, clear and colorful, which should be bode well for gamers and Netflix viewers. Samsung Galaxy A80 is powered by a 1.7 GHz octa-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 730G processor that features 2 cores clocked at 2.2 GHz and 6 cores clocked at 1.7 GHz. It comes with 8 GB of RAM. Samsung Galaxy A80 happens to be the first smartphone to launch with a slider mechanism along with rotating camera. The whole point of the rotating cameras on the Samsung Galaxy A80 is so you can utilize the same great cameras on the rear of the phone on the front. The main 48 megapixel sensor is the default camera available to you when you open the camera app, but it's easy to switch between it and the 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, which allows you to fit more into your shot. The third camera is a 3D depth sensor, providing excellent background blur for the live focus mode, which defocuses the background of your shots while keeping the foreground in focus. Overall, this smartphone is an amazing piece of technology, specifically for those who love gaming and passionate about smartphone photography. First of all, the A51 5G is light, really light. Samsung has always done a good job of building featherweight phones that still feel well made, and the A51 5G is proof of that. Its 6.5-inch display is nearly 2 inches larger than the 4.7-inch panel inside the Apple's new iPhone SE. The A51 5G's display is flat, which is actually a breath of fresh air from the curved panels in every modern premium handset. It's hard to put my finger on, but a flat screen simply feels simpler to use and easier to live with. The A51 5G is attractive with its upper slim bezels and a display that perfectly follows the silhouette of the body. But it gets better, the A51 has a headphone jack. One of the best things about the last year's Galaxy A50 was its AMOLED display, which is a luxury typically reserved for more premium devices. Rather than use a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, the A51 5G comes with an in-display optical scanner that works well most of the time. Rather than using one of Qualcomm's mid-range 600 or 700 series chipset, the Galaxy A51 5G derives its power from Samsung's own Exynos 980 CPU. It is supported by 6 or 8 GB of RAM depending on the variant. The Exynos 980 is an 8nm processor. The A51 5G excels at games. For a budget handset anyway, you can play most of the popular games without any problem. You might expect 1 or 2 cameras from this phone, but the Galaxy A51 5G has 4 on the back. A 48 megapixel wide-angle primary shooter supported by 12 megapixel ultra-wide, 5 megapixel depth and 5 megapixel macro optics. A 32 megapixel sensor serves selfie duties on the front. That's a whole lot of megapixels, and when conditions are favorable, the A51 5G can pull in a lot of detail. We like the A51 5G's depth effects. That ultrawide shooter shines when the sun is out. There is a surprising level of detail overall in Samsung's shot and good dynamic range as you move from the shadows to daylight. So what about the night shots? Well, you would think the A51 5G would be better equipped for such scenarios because it has a night mode, something Apple's cheapest iPhone lacks. As we discovered, it's not very useful. In complete darkness, the shot it captures are totally unacceptable. You can record 4K video at 30 fps. Pictures taken with selfie camera delivers stunning quality with great color accuracy and dynamic range. Samsung has used 4500 mAh battery into the Galaxy A51 5G. That big battery plus the A51's hardware being optimized more for efficiency than all-out power should guarantee exceptional battery life. This device also supports 15-watt fast charging.